Well, here we are with the incumbent drive car of the year for 2022, the Kia Sportage. It has not only been the winner of our most coveted annual prize, but this one's also been in our care for the past few months. And so while we're here on the side of the Great Ocean Road producing content for Drive Car of the Year 2023, and before this car hands its crown to another worthy champion, we felt it was a great time to not only recap why this car won, but to cover off some of the things that we've really liked, some of the areas where we feel it could still do better, but also answer some of the questions that you've asked of the Kia Sportage over the past 12 months.
The Kia Sportage is available in 4 trim grades: S, SX, SX Plus and GT line. There are 3 engines to choose from, 2 petrol and 1 diesel. There are 4 transmissions, a 6-speed auto, 7-speed DCT, 8-speed auto and even a 6-speed manual. Pricing starts from $32,795 for a Sportage S front-wheel drive manual with a petrol engine and climbs to $52,720 for a Sportage GT line diesel automatic with all-wheel drive. Whew. All prices are noted before options and on-road costs, of course, but somewhere in that $20,000 price window will be the right Sportage for you.
This, though, is our pick of the range, the SX Plus. Now, above the SX, it scores 19-inch wheels, keyless entry and start, a kicker for the automatic boot tailgate. You get synthetic leather upholstery and heated front seats and a Harman Kardon sound system. So it really is packing some pretty decent equipment. It's just off, obviously, the GT line, so there's no panoramic sunroof, and it does sit above the SX, which gives it a little bit of an edge there. But what we really like about this car is the diesel automatic powertrain. That gives it a 137 kilowatt, 416 newton meter, 2-litre turbocharged diesel and an 8-speed automatic transmission with an all-wheel drive drivetrain. And I know you're hearing diesel in a world of electric and hybrid, but to be fair, it is a diesel that really isn't a diesel. It's very, very refined and easy to drive around town. It's nice and torquey for low-down response when you need it. But more importantly, if you're using it as a family car out on the open road, it's not only easy and quiet to drive, it's tremendously efficient as well.
The design of the Sportage is a real strong point. It looks stylish and modern, particularly with the LED lighting treatment at both ends. It works in all colours too, with the junglewood green of our car a real standout.
All right, well, stepping out of the wind for a second, let's look at some of the areas that we've really liked about the Sportage, and no greater area sums that up than here in the back seat. Now, this is a family car. It's a medium-sized SUV, and I have a tremendous amount of room here. I am 6'3", I am not young and agile. These seats are both in the same position. It's my driving position. So if you've got a taller driver and you've got taller passengers back here, I have a stack of legroom. I've got a stack of headroom, and it's another point where this car is perhaps even better than the GT line because you don't have that big panoramic sunroof to cut into space. But I feel very, very comfortable back here. The backrests can have a little bit of recline. You've got an armrest with cup holders. There are clever additions too. You've got USB ports in the sides of the seats here, which are great if you're running devices. You've got little kind of shelves built into the back of the front headrests where you could hang an iPad for kids in the back. You've got vents, you've got hooks. It's not perfect. You've got small bottle bins in the sides. There's no 12-volt charger here, even though you do have those USB ports. So it's still very good. Something to be mindful of too, one thing, and we'll talk about it more when we're on the road, the Sportage features a lot of driver assistance and safety technology across the range. And one of those things is a door exit alert. So if you're parked on a street where there's passing traffic and you have kids getting out of the back, if they open their door and a car is coming from behind, they are given an alert, and that is here on the Sportage. So it's a really, really good, well-positioned family car this way. However, you have asked a question of us while we've had it. Can you fit someone in the middle seat when you have 2 car seats? And Justin actually tried this. You've got Isofix seats on both outrigger seats here. You can get now slimline car seats if you need to, but it is pretty tight. We reckon if you've got a smaller teenager plus 2 car seats, that could be okay, but it's probably not wide enough to have 2 full-size child seats and say grandma sitting in the middle on a longer trip. It's not going to be too comfortable. She may not bake you the cookies as a thank you for that one. But my recommendation, as always, is if you're looking at a car to suit your family, take your family to look at that car. Go to your Kia dealer, take your car seats down, plug them in, have a sit around, see if that size is going to work for you. Now, talking of technology inclusions in the Sportage, you're going to notice it the most from sitting up front. So not only does this car come with all of the driver assistance and safety technology that Kia has across the range, which is a really, really important consideration. You don't have to buy the top of the range model to get all the cool stuff. Here in the SX Plus and even the SX below it, you get a really, really slick and modern looking infotainment screen here, where you've got a 12.3-inch touchscreen, as well as a digital instrument cluster. There's an even better one on the GT line, but it's under this single piece of wraparound glass, and it really gives this car a modern and upmarket feel as a true cockpit. The system itself is really well featured. You've got integrated navigation, you've got integrated DAB radio, you've got some pretty fun features here too, where you can go through, you can change your profile settings, you can use quiet mode, which basically mutes the rear speakers if you want the kids to go to sleep and you can still listen to the radio up front, which I think is actually pretty cool. But with all of this technology, as they say, great power, great responsibility, all that sort of thing, comes one of the downsides of the Sportage. You've got a lot of audible warnings in this car that you can go through the system and turn them off if you don't like it beeping if you move over a white line, or you don't like it blooping at you if there's something going on. But every time you start the car, it resets and those beeps are back, and it beeps and beeps and beeps. So look, it's one of those things, it's absolutely something to live with. It's only warning you because it's trying to help you, but there are times you wouldn't mind that the quiet mode would actually work in context of the car's technology. You've got really, really good storage here, and it's worth calling out. You've got adaptive bottle cup holders here, and I love that. We talk about adaptive cruise control and adaptive transmissions. The adaptive cup holders have spring-loaded grabbers that will suit the size of the cup that you've put in there, which is kind of cool. You've got a great big tray at the front to put your phone. You've got charging for USB-A and USB-C. As you go up in the range, you do get a charge pad, but not here in the SX Plus. Like I said earlier, you've got heated seats. You've got decent storage in the front. So for a car to live with and a car that is your family car, it's an easy car to make feel at home straight away. Now, before we hit the road, there's one more thing that I'd like to discuss at the boot, because it is another question that you have asked about the car, and it's also another area where the car does tend to shine. Now, I guess it seems that we're talking a lot about practicality when we have the things that we've liked about the Sportage. And, I guess it is a medium-sized SUV. This is a family car, so practicality is a huge part of it. And back here at the boot, there's a really big thing here to talk about. A 543-litre boot. That is a big, big boot. You've also got remote releases to fold the rear seats down from when you're here. In the SX Plus, you've got a power tailgate. It comes with a kicker. But while we're here, we want to answer another question that we've been asked, which was around long load. So again, you've got a 60-40 fold split seat here, and really easy to do. So if you do have a long load, it's easy to set up. But what do you do if you get a flat tyre? Well, conveniently, the Sportage comes with a full-sized alloy spare wheel, which means that if something happens and you do get a flat, you've actually got a proper wheel to come with the car, which is a pretty rare thing these days. The downside of this is there's nowhere to store the parcel shelf if you do need to move that, because the tyre does take up the room. But I think a lot of buyers out there would actually take the knowledge of knowing that there is a spare 19-inch wheel here in the back of the car over being able to put the parcel shelf somewhere if you've got a big load in there after a trip to IKEA. So definitely a good part of this car. We haven't had a flat, but just in case you do, it's good to know that that's there. Let's hit the road. So I do hear you asking there, in this day and age, a world of electricity and a world of very efficient petrol engines, why are we saying that your best Sportage is the one with the diesel? Well, the thing is, it's the diesel and the automatic combination, but also that this diesel, it isn't really a diesel-y diesel. You don't feel like you're driving a transit van. It's nice and torquey around town, which means you get good response away from the lights. It's powerful enough for certainly around town, and then sort of into town driving where you're dealing with 70 and 80 kilometre an hour zones. But then when you do get out onto the open road, this being a family car and all, if you are doing a trip and you do need 100 kilometre an hour driving, or you do need a bit of long distance efficiency, the diesel really, really delivers, and you start to end up with a car that can be doing well and truly under 7 litres per 100 on a cruise, which makes it a really, really efficient platform as a family car to own. The automatic then is just a really, really smooth gearbox. You don't really get too many issues with it. It's a very, very smooth and likeable transmission. Plus, it makes it an all-wheel drive platform. So you do have that flexibility. There is a fun little terrain response mode thing here. Not that we've ever really pushed a Sportage to the limit of what you, well, may want to try and do, but it is a really good all-rounder. Now that's not to say that the petrols, and there's a non-turbo petrol, there's a turbo petrol, there's front-wheel drive options. If you like a Sportage, and you do like it, and as we said earlier, this car it's at the pricier end of the scale. It's $47,250 before options and on-road costs. So it certainly falls well below that $60,000 kind of mental barrier as a family car, which is great, but it's not the most affordable one out there. And if you like the Sportage and you like a lot of the things about it, but you're not quite at the budget of the SX Plus with the diesel all-wheel drive, do have a look at the cars in the lower end of the range. They're certainly by no means problematic. We just think this is the best one of the bunch, and that's kind of where we are. So to say that, yes, the Sportage is a brilliant car to drive, it really is a lovely car to drive, but this driveline is the one to pick. One of the other areas where the Sportage has really impressed us, especially out on the open road, is in its ride quality and comfort. Now, one of the things that Kia do is they have a local engineering team that spends time developing a suspension tune for Australian roads and drivers, and they actually work with the factory in Korea to make sure the cars that come here are built to a specification that Australian engineers come up with. And one of the things that they talk about is that we tend to spend a lot more time driving at higher speeds over worse quality roads than many other countries in the world. And to be able to do that, you need a car that's going to be flexible. It's got to be able to go around town. It's got to be able to deal with a freeway, but it also has to be able to deal with an unpaved or a poorly paved road in a high-speed scenario. And the fact that that has been developed for Australia, for this car and other cars in the Kia lineup, really speaks volumes to this. So it's another reason that has really, really impressed us. And look, I will say, it's a really interesting subject. If you are interested, we did an interview with Kia's head of suspension and dynamic tuning on the Drive podcast, and we've got a full transcript of that interview up on the Drive.com.au website. Now, obviously, we have been kind of skewing to the positive on this. The Kia Sportage is the 2022 Drive Car of the Year. After all, it beat out every other car in the market to be the one that we said is the best car that moves the game forward the most for Australian new car buyers. But that doesn't mean that it is without flaw. And one of the things that I sort of suggested earlier while we were sitting still is the beeps and the blops that come from the driver assistance systems they're quite prevalent. Like you can hear that, you hear the boop, boop, boop. You will get warnings, the slightest hint that the car has crossed the white line or is close to something. And sometimes when you're touring around the country, it's not actually the best place to be is right in the center of the lane, especially with the poor quality roads that we've talked about earlier. You do need to move, and it does beep and blop and whatever. You can turn them off for that drive, but they do reset every drive. Now, there goes another one. I will preface this by saying that's actually a good thing, because you don't want to turn them off and then have them off and then be going for a drive and need them and know that they're off and run into strife. So obviously, we have said it's great to have all these really good assistance systems across every variant in the Sportage lineup. So to then complain that they're too noisy, I get it. It does feel a little bit silly and ironic, but it is just one of those things. I wish there was a way to quickly turn the beeps off, or if there was a way to level the beeps so they only kind of cut in on a really urgent situation. But again, it's something that may be part of a software tune that we see for the Sportage in the future. Now, while we are on it, one other area that we did have to comment about the Sportage is it isn't the cheapest car to service, certainly in this segment. You've got a great 7-year warranty. You've got capped price servicing across that 7 years. So all of the service and maintenance costs are heavily detailed leading up to your purchase. So you can find out everything with no surprises. But it's not the cheapest car in that lineup. And I think that's the thing. It still represents terrific value, but if you are on a budget, do your sums, have a look at other ones in the range and just see if it's there. But really, in terms of being an all-round package, and particularly with this SX Plus trim, the Sportage is a car that really, it gives you a premium feeling vehicle with lots of technology, lots of comfort, and a heap of family practicality in a really, really stylish medium SUV platform. So there you go, well done. 2022 Drive Car of the Year, the Kia Sportage. Well, from a windy beach to a windy hill, it is time to say goodbye to the 2022 Drive Car of the Year award winner, the Kia Sportage. As we've said, we've spent quite a lot of time with this car over the past 12 months. We love the styling, we love the practicality. We're big fans of the technology inclusions across the range. We think that Australian tuned suspension makes it an ideal car for Australian families. And if you are shopping, the SX Plus with the diesel engine and automatic all-wheel drive driveline is the one to get. That said, that makes it higher up in the range, and it does make it a $50,000 odd proposition, or sub $60,000 on the road if you are shopping, which may not be to everyone's budget, and you do have to spend a little bit more to get the most out of your Sportage. And that extends to servicing as well, which has, even though cap price costs, they are a little higher than some of the competitors. But even with all of that in mind, this car has continued to impress us. So if you've got any more questions about the Sportage, both now and in the future, do not hesitate to ask us in the comments below or at Drive.com.au. But now it's almost time to crown a new 2023 Drive Car of the Year. So of course, if you've enjoyed this video, hit like, hit subscribe, hit the bell icon, you know what to do. Stay tuned for 2023 Drive Car of the Year. And if you've got any questions or want to know more about the Kia Sportage, head on over to Drive.com.au.